All right. I don't know if you can take this out or not. Okay. Just going to stand up, make that a little bit easier. Thank you each for coming. I think we're trying to get a few extra seats. This is certainly a very wonderful turnout, and we certainly love to see it. And we do have a couple of seats over on this side if you're looking for a seat. I have just a few announcements. Oh, we've got a couple down here too as well. Before we actually get started, I just have a few things that I want to announce, a few housekeeping items. First of all, there are bathrooms back in the back this way. It's very important that we not park in front of the garage doors where the fire trucks reside, especially unless you're wanting to find a good way to have your car relocated elsewhere. I added that part. They did not put that in the note. Do not use the door behind the candidates, except if we're in an emergency. Please don't do that. And, also, please don't block the driveway to the helicopter pad. You should know this next one. Absolutely no smoking in here. And we also ask, just for, especially for audio quality, we do have some video recording equipment in here. Please not to, drag the chairs or the tables. That kind of makes a bit of a noise. So, got that out of the way. Just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Mandy Qualls. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Tompkins County. We do have a couple of other league members here that will be helping me tonight, and I'm going to introduce them here in a second. But again, I'm going to make my part very short, so that way we can actually get to the people that you actually came to hear from. A few league things. We do have a couple of brochures about early voting, which, as you guys know, or may not know, we have early voting this year, which is a very good thing. Please ask that you pick up these brochures. If you have any questions about early voting, those are back at the back table. And before we actually get to, I'm going to just give you guys a few of the guidelines that we have for tonight's debate. First of all, you should know the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. You may hear me say some things that I may need to. I'm not a native New Yorker. You may or may not know that. The farther that we get in and the more that I talk, you'll probably get that. So if there's anything that I need to say again, please let me know. We do, again, as I said, we do have people that are here video recording. If you do record something, first of all, we needed to have it in writing, but if you do record something and you want to post it on social media, we do ask that you post the entire forum in its entirety. The reason that we do that is because sometimes snippets can be taken of candidates. We don't want anything misconstrued. We want everything to be put out as it is and as it's happened. It's very important, if you have cell phones, please turn them off. That can definitely be a distraction for the candidates. Try to keep those interruptions to a minimum. You may have seen at the very back, we have some cards and some pens and some pencils. If you have a question for the candidates, for a subset of candidates, especially for one specific office, please put that on your card. We already have a lot of cards, and I'm going to try my best to get through them. I'm going to talk a little faster. So I may not actually get to everybody's question, but I will definitely try my best to make sure that we do that. First of all, Kay Wagner here in the very front. Kay Wagner is going to be our official timer. She has the hardest job by far out of all of us because she's going to be keeping people on time. She's going to tell the candidates when they have 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then when they have to be quiet. And, we also have another league member here, Nancy Skipper. When you have those questions and you have them filled out, Nancy's going to, if you have them, just raise them up. Nancy will come around to gather them. So let me go over very quickly what the actual forum is going to look like as far as time. Each candidate's going to have 3 minutes for their opening statements. They'll have 1 minute per question, and we will have some time for a rebuttal, but I'm really going to try to keep those to a minimum because we've got a whole bunch of questions to get through, and I want to make sure that we do those. And then at the very end, I'll let you know when we have 2 minutes for your closing statements. We do have a couple of races that are uncontested, and per the league rules, those uncontested races are not going to be a part of the forum, but we've asked the people that are running for those uncontested races, if they wanted to come, you're more than welcome to talk to them at the end of the forum. There's room at the table at the back for any sort of material if those candidates wanted to bring them. Really quickly, just wanted to take everyone through what the candidates are running for. First of all, the contested seats for Town Supervisor, we have Peter Hoyt and Mark Whitmer. For Highway Superintendent, we have Dallas Micha and Bobby Spencer. And for Town Councilperson, we have Tim Murray, Karen Lynn Scott, Tony Tavelli, and Irene Weitzer. I hope that I did not butcher any of those names horribly. So, with all that being said, I have talked enough. Let's go ahead and get started. I think we'll go ahead and start at the end with Peter, and we'll go ahead and start with your opening statements. You'll each have 3 minutes.
So stand up there.
Yeah, we should be able to hear you. If we have any mic issues, you should be okay, but go ahead.
Yes.
You can stay seated. The mics are turned up real high.
Oh, okay. That's good. I like to stand, but I'll stand here. Thanks for coming out. I tossed out the prepared speech, my 98th copy of a prepared speech, because everything changes so fast around here. Please check out my website if you haven't already. But probably the most significant piece from the website is one I put out a day or two ago, which is called Pledge, Promises, and Goals. And that's on the back table, and I printed out about 150 copies of that, because that is my agenda, my plan, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish if I get into the office. So I got started on this business. I've always been kind of going to board meetings. And as things started to happen, the elected versus appointment stuff last fall that y'all remember, and then the disputes between the supervisor and the clerk later this spring, followed by a letter from Don Barber that he mailed me. It was addressed to the town board, plus Cindy and a few other people, but he blind CC'd me on it. So I went to ask him about it, and it was a pretty tough letter. He was highly critical of the board. And that's a copy of that's on the website also. And I said, Don, why did you send me one? He said, well, I thought that you should have it. He said, I wish somebody would run against this board. I thought, well, that's interesting. And so I was kind of deciding to do that, to run for the town board. And right around that time, just as I was getting ready to do that, I found out that Karen and Tony both wanted to run for town board. And I thought, wow, that's great. Supervisor. Okay, I'll try that. And we actually put together a ticket, first one since 2013. So here we are. And it's been a good campaign. I've really enjoyed it. Actually made a lot of new friends. It's been really good. There was a little recent dispute, perhaps, or a little bit of hard feelings. Don sent a letter out to some folks about me and about my voting record, and there are a few things I didn't like in it. I thought that they were improper. You know, for the most part of it, he cited the record, and the record's fair game. So I talked to Emily Adams about that at the Apple Festival. I just kind of let her know that I thought that a couple things just were a little out of line. And I got the most cordial email today from Emily. Emily's a little embarrassed I'm talking about this, and I'm sorry, but I just think it's, oh boy. I just think it's worth it that I kind of put that out there. I replied to Emily, and I posted her email and my reply on my website also. And that just puts us, I think it kind of justifies the whole Unified Caroline thing that I've been talking about. And really made me feel good. And I think we can get somewhere. Thank you.
So thanks to the League of Women Voters for holding this event, and thanks everybody for coming out tonight. It's really great to see so many people that I know from the community. So,
Mark, stand up.
Stand up. You're not hearing me?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Stand up.
Okay. So my family and I live here because of the wonderful people, the community, and the rural beauty. My wife Ann and I are biologists and educators. We have 2 lovely daughters raised in Caroline, and they're now away at college. I entered local politics in Caroline because of my desire to contribute to the community and make a small difference locally. The issue that drew me in was hydrofracking. As many of you know, this led to a political revolution in Caroline that resulted in a local law banning gas development. It was a vigorous community discussion and victory that was followed by many towns and then by New York State. This outcome made me feel like local efforts really can make a difference. I wanted to continue to make these kinds of differences. Following this, and at the initiative of the town's Volunteer Energy Committee, Energy Independent Caroline, I became the program director for Solarized Tompkins Southeast that helped homeowners install affordable home solar systems in Caroline, Danby, and Dryden. That program grew into a countywide effort for solar and then geothermal that's happening now. I then decided to run for town board and was elected to the board in 2014 and then supervisor in 2016. With the help of an active town board and volunteer committees, we've accomplished a lot and have many good projects in the pipeline. I want to keep those moving forward and to build on them. Here's a summary of what we've accomplished so far. We facilitated the build out of 16.8 miles of high-speed internet to 126 homes. That is just being completed. We continued revision of the town's comprehensive plan, which is in the final stretch thanks to our hard-working planning board. I negotiated a new collective bargaining agreement and revised the employee handbook. I procured and administered FEMA and DEC grants for stream and creek projects to protect roadways and clean waters on Buffalo Road Creek and Boyer Creek. We accomplished 7 of the 10 of NYSERDA's action items for energy conservation and renewable energy, including installing an electric vehicle charging station at the town hall funded by NYSERDA. And most recently, we became a Climate Smart Community Bronze community. Because we moved swiftly, we were awarded a $100,000 Clean Energy Communities grant, which we developed as our Brighten Up Caroline conversion of street lights and homes to energy efficient LEDs. These accomplishments have come without raising taxes. We've stayed under the tax cap each of my 4 years as supervisor, and in fact, the tax rates declined. I've worked hard as your supervisor, and I want to continue to build on this momentum to keep Caroline such a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dallas Micha and I'm running as a candidate for Highway Superintendent. I'd like to start off by thanking everybody for being here tonight. For those of you that haven't had the pleasure of meeting me yet, I'd like to start off by giving you some background information on myself. I am a lifelong resident of the town of Caroline and currently reside in the hamlet of Speedsville. I have spent the last 2 years working for the town highway department as a heavy equipment operator and was recently promoted to the deputy superintendent. Before that, I spent over 9 years in the road construction industry working for Economy Paving, where we specialized in road reconstruction and bridge repair. I am excited for the opportunity to serve my fellow residents because I have had a sense of pride for Caroline instilled in me since a young age. I take great satisfaction in knowing I am doing everything possible to maintain town conditions while keeping residents safe both during our New York seasons, winter and construction. Seeing what can be accomplished under our current superintendent, Cindy Whitaker, has only increased my ambition to continue to provide the town with the best superintendent possible. When elected, I will strive to continue to use the great methods Cindy has established while working to maximize efficiency. I will continue the great working relationships Caroline has with other surrounding town highway departments. I will work closely with the town board to establish and use a budget that's fiscally responsible without compromising safety. Finally, I will explore my options available to us to increase communications with the residents to convey information and receive feedback in a timely manner. I look forward to tonight and the opportunity for all you to get to know me better and hopefully continue that in the future. Thanks again.
I'm Bobby Spencer. I'm running for Town of Caroline Highway Superintendent. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to run for the position of Caroline Highway Superintendent. I'm a lifelong resident of Caroline. I've also raised my 5 children in the town of Caroline. I'm running for this position for the opportunity to be able to serve the residents of the town of Caroline and to be able to make a difference in our town. I'm very passionate about this position as I am no stranger to long hours and hard work. I come from a very strong machinery and mechanical background. Some recent would be 3 years with Casella, 5 years with Carson, 2 years with the town of Caroline, and 3 years to present with the Tompkins County Highway Department. And in many of these, I've always held some sort of management role. As I said, I'm very passionate about this position. It's not just a job to me, it's home. And with that comes a dedicated responsibility to your family and mine as they all travel the roads in the town of Caroline. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Wow, look around. This is really kind of amazing, isn't it? And I'm Tim Murray. I've been fortunate to be on the town board since January. I ran for a one-year term last fall, and this is the reason that I'm doing it, because we have an amazing community. I've been fortunate to live here for a very long time now, 38 years. With my wife, Renee Farrow. Our kids grew up here, went to Caroline School. Renee actually taught at Caroline School for a while, might have taught some of your kids. And we've spent all of our time here working to revitalize our old house, which some of you will still remember as Sarzi's Restaurant, taking care of our land and taking care of our woods. And this has really characterized my work on the town board as far as I'm concerned, because I think we have a lot of challenges facing us with the influx of new residents, the pressure on our farms, the need to try to keep both balanced, and it's something that I'm very dedicated to doing. I grew up in a family of public service. My father was the director of public works, and I actually grew up hanging out in the town barns when kids could go out with their parents. I rode the plows, I rode the trucks. I built my soapbox derby in the town barns when you were allowed to do that. Now kids would get arrested. But what I've found is being on the town board, so much of this has come naturally to me. I'm very familiar with the budgets. In my other job, I've had years of experience of managing very large budgets, doing lots of fundraising, and I think that I can continue to serve the town in a very helpful way. So thanks for coming.
Hello everyone, my name is Karen Scott and I'm running for town council, and I just wanted to thank you so much for coming here tonight. The town of Caroline is special because you live here. Every face has a name and you are a person, an individual, not a statistic or a number. And all of us, in addition to the unique amenities in each hamlet, help make the town of Caroline a true gem. Now, to better understand the direction of a person's future, you must look at their present and also their past. My family has been planting roots in the town of Caroline for the past 10 years. I am thankful for my husband, Ben, who is a great example and has always been encouraging and supportive of both myself and also our 6 children, who range in age from 13 years old to a year and a half. Now, a list of achievements and accolades looks great on a resume, but what is important, at least to me, is why I do what I do. I enjoy working with others and being a part of something bigger than myself, while trying to be a good example for my children and showing with my actions, not just my words, the importance of using time, talents, and resources for a positive cause. I am proud to have served for 4.5 years as an active duty Air Force police officer, and during my enlistment I received various leadership awards and a degree in criminal justice. And in 2016 I received my bachelor's degree in community health with a concentration in wellness and health promotion. And after graduating, I started volunteering. And to this day I represent the town of Caroline on 2 committees, the Joint Youth Commission and also the Recreation Partnership. I have also been serving on the Brooktondale Community Center Board for the past 1.5 years, and also helping out in the Caroline Elementary School and also our church. I have also been the store supervisor at Brooktond's Market for the past 2 years, and that's located here in Brooktondale. I never pictured myself being on a ballot, but it is the next step I was encouraged to take. And after thoughtful consideration, because anything I am committed to, I want to ensure that I am qualified and can give my best. I want you to know I would be honored to represent you, actively listen to you, regardless of your political affiliation and beliefs, research reputable resources in order to make the best educated decisions to make our town thrive. Thank you.
There it is. I can see it. Excuse me. My name is Tony Tavelli. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Caroline, 4th generation farmer in the town of Caroline. 6 years I've been working in maintenance after I sold the dairy in 2012, and I've been in Ithaca working in building maintenance. I served on the town of Caroline Planning Board for a couple years. We worked on the site plan review law, which I had some misgivings about, but certainly feel that it was necessary, just what it was used for or what the intention was. In the beginning, I didn't agree with. But I'm running because I was asked to. Why? And you know, I really had no inspiration or aspirations to be on the town board. I'm busy, but people have some issues they're concerned about, and they've asked me to be on the town board. One of them is we feel in Speedsville or Hartford Road, out in those areas that we're not represented, and maybe we should have somebody on the board that can speak from there. And I have some concerns with the increases in taxes, and I was looking back through them after I read this flyer that they sent through, and thank you, Mark, for the decrease in taxes. Since I have back from 2011, and there's been quite a significant increase. One year, I think it was 16, and it was like a 10 to 14% increase in our taxes. It concerns me that there was a huge increase, and it's nice to get some of that back. And transparency on the town board. There seems to be a concern with that. And that would be something I'd have to look into. There's things that have happened that are going through the rumor mill that I couldn't say, other than I would have to look into that. And there seems to be a focus on the environment, which is important, but there's some local concerns. And again, it's on the outside that we need to, that seem to be left out. So hold the line on taxes. The highway department in good working order is important to me, and adhering to the permitting processes in our local laws are important. And I'm not sure that that's a real issue. It's just something that is dear to me. And being available to residents, best way to find me is on the farm. You can ride around in the tractor with me, or you can ride with me when we haul hay. You can find me out there, and I love to talk because it's lonely out there.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, I'm Irene Weiser, and so this is my 3rd time running for town board, and honestly, every time it's time to re-up, I think, do I want to do this again? And I look around here tonight, and I know why I do it, and every time I get out and start knocking on doors, I know why I do it, and it's because we all care in this town. We really all care about this town and the future of this town, and I appreciate the opportunity and honor that you've given me over the past 8 years to represent you. I'm a 28-year Caroline resident, and I am seeking re-election to a 3rd term. I'm a retired veterinarian and a longtime human services advocate. I bring experience in small business management, strategic planning, youth and family advocacy, conflict resolution, and community building. For the past several years, I've been involved advocating on green energy concerns and keeping our NICEAG rates down. In my time on the town board, I've served the town with energy and commitment in a variety of capacities. After banning fracking, I formed the Aquifer Protection Committee to explore how we can safeguard the quality and quantity of our most precious resource. I also formed the Communications, Information, and Technology Committee to make information on the town government's activities more widely accessible to the public, both through the website postings, the emails we send out, and the town notebooks that are in all 3 stores in town. Over the past several years, I've been involved in providing town-wide access to broadband internet, as Mark enumerated. We've done quite a bit, but we're not there yet. We've made progress, but in bringing coverage to the northeast and southeast portions of town, I'm committed to continuing this work until every household in Caroline has access to high-speed broadband. I continue to be surprised at how many issues even a small town like ours faces. We face many challenges. Our volunteer ambulance and fire services, crucial services that benefit our residents, are facing an aging and declining volunteer pool. And as you know, our ambulance is no longer in existence as a result of that. Extreme weather events have resulted in higher costs for snow removal, as well as repair and mitigation of flood damage. To address climate change, we must embrace energy efficiency, renewable energy, and develop a more sustainable economy. I believe we can work together to find creative and collaborative solutions. The work most recently that I did in the Brooktondale hamlet to address some of the growing pains that we had there, I think is a good demonstration of the ways that I think that our community can work together. So I just, I'll finish up by just saying that I hope the voters will continue to allow me to serve this town in the ways that I can. Thank you.
All right, thank you for those. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and start off with a general question, and this will be for each candidate. And I'm going to start off with Irene, and then we'll move our way to my left, your right. What are your visions for the future and the priorities that you've designated to get there? In other words, any new initiatives that you propose for the future?
Sure. Well, some of them I just kind of mentioned. Broadband isn't done yet, and I am committed to seeing it done. We also now have a cell tower going in on Bald Hill Road. We know that there's cell tower issues as well. I think the planning board will be working to locate better opportunities for other cell tower locations to provide further coverage in the town. I continue to work on the emergency services conundrum and figuring out how we can move forward with that. There's new issues going forward as well. One thing I would love to see is an opportunity for whoever wants it to subscribe to renewable energy. And that's a commitment and a project that I've been interested in. The tick list is as long as the community wants it to be. We're here to respond to what you think is important, but those are some of the things that I think I have interest in and been working on to address.
I agree with Irene on the emergency services. It's concerning that we have an ambulance that's so far away, and I'd like that. Taken care of. We need to have something here, but the issue is trying to man an ambulance, and there's got to be some way we can fix that. And transparency is important here in the town of Caroline, and as far as the town board, whether there is or not, I would certainly want that if I'm on that board, that we have to be transparent. We got to be available to the people, and again, I would agree that anything that the people bring to us will be addressed, and it'll be a 5-member board decision. We should be able to work with each other. Thank you.
My focus is definitely on the grassroots level, relationships with one another, building different camaraderie with one another, using different organizations and facilities that typically aren't used, like the Brooktondale Community Center, the Speedsville Community Center, so people can come together, find out what's going on in our town, what's going well, what needs to be changed, what activities are going on, what are your thoughts, what are your opinions, and different ways for people to find out, wow, we do have an issue with the emergency medical service. We do need volunteers to help out, and this is where it's at. Just people building relationships with one another so that you can find out where the needs are, what people's interests are, how they can help, and what they can do to better the community.
One of the recent discussions that we had in the town was around cell tower application, and it made me realize that one of the things that we need to be working on really quickly is a telecommunications master plan, so that we have a better idea of what we need, both in terms of emergency services and citizens' demands. I've been very, very happy to be on the board and be able to have conversations with so many of you about your needs and your desires, and a number of things have come up. One, we clearly need a better public transportation system in the town. We've got to work harder with TCAT to do that. Emergency services goes without a question. This is really complicated, and Irene's been working on it very hard for a very long time. The board is on this. We think we can make some progress. We desperately need a new town barn. Everybody who's involved in this realizes this, and this is something that I would be happy to be involved in if I'm reelected. And I think we need to do something about our agricultural communities. They're stressed, and I'd like to work with the community and the town board to figure out solutions to keep especially weekend farms vital.
A few focus points for me, as Tim said, is working on a new highway barn. It's going to be an extreme forthcoming. A few other things is to update some equipment. Some stuff's outdated. Try to work in some new technologies. And to work on a little bit better of a salt management program has been a big thing that has been brought to my attention.
Some of the focus points I see that the town should focus on are maybe some EMT support, whether it's first responders, maybe looking back into volunteers for ambulance services. Another thing is the highway barn. I think that's going to be a big step for the future for this town. It's a big cost. Trying to budget it all together, working with the town board to figure out the best possible plan for that point. And then communication is a big point. I think this town lacks on communication, whether it's with the people in the town, talking to the town board. People aren't getting their voices heard. I'd like to see some work done with that, so thank you.
Great. So I think something that we need to pay attention to in the near future is planning for expected growth in Caroline, and evaluating how we might do that. Some towns employ zoning, some towns don't. We had a planner talk to us when we were revising our site plan and subdivision laws, and there are mechanisms that you can use with either approach. But I think that's something that we can all see, that Caroline is a beautiful place, lots of land, it's affordable, and it seems like growth is coming. So that's something we need to pay attention to. I think renewable energy for the community is something I would like to help move forward. And so as far as communication, the town board meetings always have a privilege of the floor at the beginning. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Nice to go last. I mean, there's a little bit of weird stuff here, because there isn't much time to ramble on. I certainly agree with what everybody's saying about the EMS and the town barn. I would like to see if I can get some volunteer and professional and experienced emergency service trained people, maybe try to get a bunch of us into the same room and just see what we can agree on and take it from there. Internet service, yes, I agree with everything everybody's been saying on that. Energy, people sometimes get on my case about that, and my statement is we should try to use energy in the most efficient manner possible to minimize impact on our planet. And I will put any concrete energy proposals on the meeting agenda for a full board discussion. I will not sit on anything, not that I'd be able to pull it off even if I wanted to. I mean, stuff will get out there, and it should. I had one more and I forgot it, but I'm done, so it works. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so this next question, I think what we'll do is we'll start off with Tim, and then we'll move to Karen, and then after Irina's done, then we'll move back on to Peter. So we'll start with Tim, and then we'll see where it goes. What do you think that the town of Caroline should do in the coming years to prepare for and to be resilient in the face of climate change?
This is one of the biggest challenges that we have. So one of the pressures that we're under is we've had massive storms. Renee and I lost 35 trees in 5 minutes 4 years ago. Absolutely out of nowhere. We've had radical storms that have been hitting the area. We can't control climate change ourselves, but we can be participants in trying to develop alternatives to it. So I'm very proud of the work that Mark's been doing in terms of developing geothermal heating of the town hall. A lot of people are doing solar energy, and I think that the town board really needs to encourage this and continue to apply for the grants that we've gotten to do this, and hope that the members of the town board will continue to vote for these grants. Pete did not, during his term as town board member, vote for the grants that we've received to do this work.
Go ahead. We'll have a chance in here in just a second, Pete. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay.
Go along.
Regarding climate change, it's definitely a big concern here. What's going on as far as solar panels, it is a good incentive to have that on the roofs. I don't think it's mandatory for everybody to have that with new house construction. Landowners should be able to do exactly what they would like to, and they should not be regulated and have rules regarding that. I think a lot of times when there is problems or issues going on with the climate, we try to change things, do things differently, so radically that a lot of times, we end up using different elements or different fossil fuels, and we end up causing greater damage sometimes than what we could have had, in the first place. If we end up using group transportation and maybe walking more to different places and just trying to build more community unity and just helping each other out more, that would be beneficial.
The experts that I've listened to, basically is that we hear there's little that we can do to change what the climate's going to do. I think our best approach is to always regard our earth as where we live, and we shouldn't be polluting it. Everything should be done clean. And when we can come up with a technology that works better, that's cleaner than what we have, then we should address it. And I agree with Karen. We shouldn't be there shouldn't be laws or regulations forcing people to do things. It should be on the approach that this is fiscally responsible, and it will work for you, and you'll save money, and it'll sell a hell of a lot better than trying to force them to do it. It's a better approach to go through it that way. Thank you.
So I want to correct what may be a misconception that's been offered up by previous two speakers. There is no law in the town requiring people to put solar on their roofs. We do not have such a law, and honestly, it's something that could not be done. What we do have is a law or a revision to laws that we thought were very prudent to encourage, when there are large developments, that their roofs be solar ready if possible. If there's under trees and whatever else and it can't be done, it can't be done. But if it's possible to build solar ready, we think that that's a prudent way to build large developments. There are many things that we can do. I would like to see if there are ways to have a larger solar farm somewhere in our community. Right now, NYSEG's wiring doesn't support that, so we need to work with NYSEG to get that changed. Stormwater management is a big issue. You've seen from some of the storms that took out Banks Road back the first time I ran for office. Our continued efforts to manage stormwater is a really important piece. Emergency preparedness for when those storms happen.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I hate to cut people off, but we do have a pretty limited amount of time. So Peter, I know that when Tim was speaking that I believe that he referred to you. So because of the rules that we have, I'm going to give Peter an extra 30 seconds. So you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds for your response.
Well, I'll start with rebuttal. I'll do my best. I didn't know that Tim was running against me, but that's okay. And, you know, thanks for giving me a chance to actually make this statement, because I didn't have time in my opening statement, but I am not opposed to grants per se. But every grant needs to be looked at, because a lot of them have financial and performance requirements that might make what looks superficially like a good deal into not a good deal. So you look at every grant. And I'm sure I voted against some and in favor of others. Okay, stop. Now, am I supposed to keep going?
Yeah, we're going to give him another minute for.
Another minute?
Yeah, one more minute. Yeah,
To answer
go ahead.
the question
So what was the
directly.
original question? Because I'm so caught up there about
yes.
these grants here.
What do you think the town of Caroline should do in coming years to prepare for and to be resilient in the face of climate change?
Well, just be open to, first of all, use less energy, because at the bottom of it, it all seems to be, first it was about various type of sulfides that were polluting the air, and now it's carbon dioxide, which is a product of any kind of combustion. So the less you use, the less you're going to produce of these gases. How about planting some trees? I did a little, okay, I'll go as fast as I can, thank you. I've got about 3,000 trees I personally planted out at my place. One tree will make up for the carbon dioxide emission, or I'm sorry, 240 such trees will make up for the carbon dioxide emission of one car driven an average amount a year. I can make up for my car, Mark's car, Tim's car, well, and Tony's, everybody's car up here, and still have a few left over. So that's something you can do without town efforts. You can get down there, get the trees yourself, and plant them, and I'm willing to help with that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, thank you. So, in preparing for resiliency in the face of climate change, yes, I agree. Using less energy is really important. I think statewide, there's a lot of momentum energy to move us to a lower energy consumption and renewable energy world. From the state, the county, everybody's supporting this, and that's what's been really exciting. Working in our little town, they're all facilitating this process in the grants that I described earlier. The other thing that Dallas and others have alluded to are stormwater impacts on our streams. It's a continual battle, as Barry Goodrich knows. We line one project up after another, and we've had a recent discussion. I really think it makes sense to have a county-wide structure that helps municipalities deal with these things. Has a permitting process, maybe even has some of the mechanical equipment and personnel to help make these things happen. So, thank you.
As far as the highway department, climate change, I think some issues are storm drainage issues, like Mark was saying. Everything possible that we can do in our construction, you know, silt running in water, or keeping mud off roads, or even when we go to build the new highway barn, anything that we could do to help with climate change, as far as, you know, where we put our salt shed, or even building the new building, the energy that we're using there, so everything helps.
Yeah, for me, stormwater runoff, it's a never-ending battle. It is at the county level, day after day, we fix it. Next storm, it's right back to the same way. Comes to the new highway department barns, whether we figure out some kind of a geothermal to help, solar panels. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you for that. We've had quite a few questions from the crowd regarding some things regarding climate change. So for this next round is going to be for everyone as well. Bobby, I'm going to start with you, then we're going to work to your right, and then we'll end up with Tim going last, okay? If New York State changes its current laws, do you think that Caroline should welcome fracking? We'll start off with an easy question, and Bobby, go. Yeah.
Thanks for that question.
Yeah.
I think there's a right and a wrong way to everything. I wouldn't stand here and say, yeah, just jump right into it. It wouldn't be my take at all. I think it's something that would have to be sit down as far as the board would play a big role. It's not just on the highway department itself. The board, the town people, everybody, it's going to take a big effort to come to some kind of a conclusion on that.
As far as hydrofracking in the town, as part of the highway department, we have to look into maintaining the roads if they ever come in here and they want to hydrofrac. I think there's a huge expense there with fixing the roads back up. Am I against hydrofracking? I mean, it's up to the person's land that's preference, you know. I can't make anybody's call on that. I guess you just get the feedback from the town members and take it back to the board and discuss, you know, what we think we should do and then go from there.
So this is actually the issue that got me into local politics. So if the state allowed hydrofracking, I would definitely uphold our local law to ban hydrofracking. We had a vigorous community discussion. It was a very deep discussion, and a lot of, you know, I felt like we considered the facts. I think the community has spoken, and I would also, we've been talking about climate change, and it's very clear from the evidence that methane itself is a severe threat to climate change. The leakage rates estimates keep going up, and so combined with methane is a fossil fuel. We need to get away from fossil fuels, and hydrofracking itself is not a good option for our energy future. I would definitely uphold our ban. Thank you.
Oh, you've all been waiting for this one, haven't you? In 2011, I was roundly voted off the board because I would not support a ban on hydrofracking at the time. There was an election looming within 3 months, and I figured I would take my position and then let the voters decide. Well, the voters decided, and that's fine, how it should be. Now, I have thought about this a lot. It is a legitimate question if one would ask, what if in the next 2 years the state actually said, yeah, go ahead and frack. I think that's highly unlikely, so I haven't really studied the issue since then, what new technologies and new things we know. But I have a pledge, and I'm going to read that pledge right now. I hope I can get it in. If elected supervisor in 2019, I pledge to do nothing to overturn or otherwise undermine the ban on drilling passed as a local law in 2012 until the next election cycle. That way, should the discussion become relevant in the future, there will be another opportunity to voters to pass judgment on whatever position I take on the issue at that time. Thank you.
Absolutely, unquestionably, unqualified, there will not be fracking in this town while I'm on the board, and I will lay down in the streets here, I will lay down in the streets in Albany. It will not happen on my watch. And I'll let you know why. It contaminates the water, it contaminates the air, it accelerates global warming. In the local communities, there are horrific impacts from, and you know, it's already been mentioned about the trucks. There's all kinds of community impacts from a boom and bust economy. But most importantly are the health impacts. It has been shown now to contaminate water, to contaminate the air. In communities where there has been fracking down in Pennsylvania, there are increased cancer rates, there are decreased birth rates, more miscarriages. It is an abomination and should not be allowed in this town, and I will stand up and make sure it doesn't happen here, whether I'm in office or not.
If the state was to allow fracking, it was banned or banned from the state because it was determined to be unsafe. So they are certainly not going to open it up to this state unless they determine it's safe. And then it's going to have to be looked at again. as to why they would determine it's safe. How is that? And all the things that Irene has cited is certainly going to have to be looked at. And that would be my position is if the state goes in that direction, I will look at it and see what they have to say. What have they done? What has changed?
I know fracking is a very important issue to many people. Many people feel a certain way and it's very emotional for them. Regarding fracking, I know I've talked to some people that are for fracking and others who are against fracking. And they've also given me many reasons why they feel the way that they do. If fracking was allowed in New York State here, I would end up definitely looking out more information. We would talk as a board. We would talk to people of all different viewpoints to get the best answer and to do what's right for the town. I don't know a whole lot about fracking again myself, but I would do the best that I could to educate myself and do what's best for the town.
No. No. We need to maintain the town law that bans fracking, regardless of what New York State does. It pollutes the water. We have no public water. We can't afford even to take that basic risk. It's been shown in the Southwest to increase and generate earthquakes. We don't need that danger. We know that our roads would be totally torn up by the construction and not rebuilt. It would not lend any advantage to this town whatsoever. We need to be thinking about alternatives to energy use and production instead of relying on this multinational corporate greed that's going to come in and rape our community. So no, I would not support fracking.
Okay, thank you. Everything is solved. We got all that solved, so great, we'll move on. No, I'm just kidding. That's not a funny or joking topic, and I appreciate everyone's patience. And I just want to reiterate, if you're in the audience, we're not going to allow any questions or really any clapping or anything like that. If you do have a question, again, I just want to remind you this to wave it up in the air, and we'll be sure to come along and pick it up. Okay, great. So I want to switch gears a little bit. And this time I'm going to start off with Karen, and we'll move to your left, and then we'll end up with Tim being last. What is your plan with broadband in Caroline?
Regarding broadband, I know a lot of people, including myself, do have difficulty accessing the internet. I don't know a lot about what's being discussed right now with broadband, but it's something that I would end up looking at more if I was to be a board member and then do what was best for the community.
I have no plan on broadband. Other than if this is needed in the community, then we work as a board to implement that, to continue on the work that's being done.
Broadband has been an issue that I've been involved in from the get-go in this town since the state has made available various kinds of funding to help to build out broadband. The first iteration was not even high enough speed to be considered broadband long-term. They then provided a lot of money to Spectrum to build out in various parts of the town. Spectrum has not built out to parts of the town where they said they would. Meanwhile, we were able to secure funding, as Mark described earlier, including with grant support, to build out some fiber optic broadband to the northeast and southeast parts of town. We still lack broadband on White Church Road, Coddington Road, Bell School Road, Ridgeway Road, the Bald Hill area and parts of 78, or 76 Road, not 78. I've been in touch with Hafley, who's built out so far, to see what else we can do. I'm in touch with Senator Seward's office, who has talked about HughesNet, which is.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I hate to cut people off, or we may come back to that. Let's go ahead and move on to Peter.
That's one of the issues that I've somewhat changed my mind on in the last 10 years. When I was on the board a decade ago, I considered internet access to be more of a luxury. Now I consider it to be more of a necessity, especially since the schools just tend to assume that every kid has it. So I support the efforts that Mark and Irene have taken, and I would continue to do that. My understanding is that part of the town has been given to Hafley, part of it to Spectrum, I think Haefely's getting out there pretty good. Spectrum's dragging its feet. And there's still parts of the town that haven't been awarded to anybody. That's my understanding. My technical understanding is that the only two technologies that are really any good for the long term are fiber optics or the coaxial cable. So I'm really not much into this beam me down, beam me up, Scott. Too many problems with that. So really, I don't think I'm at any point of contention with these guys on that. I would effectively pursue it. Thank you.
Well, I described our efforts earlier. We have been, as Irene described, we met with Senator Seward several years ago. He was very helpful, and you know, we put out an RFP for bids, and we received a couple for broadband from the town. One came from Haefely, and we were very excited about it. And then things were reorganized, and then sections were put out for Spectrum, and then Haefely did get the 2 awards, and they did complete that project. So according to Lee Haefely, Spectrum is working harder to move ahead. They have been dragging their feet, but he said that his associate there has been working with them, and they are doing build out. It's BLDK, it's build lookup, all capital letters. It's a Spectrum site where you can put your address in, it'll tell you if you're on their plan. So Google that up, it's a Spectrum site and you can check it out. So, and we'll be continuing to evaluate it and move forward.
As far as broadband goes, I think that's a key thing for Caroline. I'm for it. I think this is where our lack of communication comes in play. I'd like to see the broadband within the whole town. As the highway department, it helps calling guys in, emailing if there's emergencies around town, getting a hold of the town supervisor, relaying messages from the town people back to the town supervisors when there's an issue. So yeah, definitely I'm for broadband.
As far as broadband, yeah, I'm in support of that. Dallas kind of stole some of my answers there. But so yeah, as far as that, I agree with Dallas, and I support it.
I want to thank Mark and Irene for the leadership that they've taken in expanding broadband in the town. This is one of the reasons that I want to develop a telecommunications master plan as well, to have further broadband orientation along with cell towers brought into kind of a rational scope. You know, one of the reasons that also we really need broadband in the town is that if we're going to expand our economic base, a large part of that is now going to come from cottage home-based industries, and we need to have access for our citizens. I was talking to somebody just last night who's trying to work from home and doesn't have adequate access, and this is really imperative for us. So I'm all for the town continuing to push as hard as we can, get as many grants as we can, continue to get grants for this, and build it out.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to another topic, and this one there were quite a few questions involving the trails and hiking opportunities in Caroline. So this time I'm going to start with Dallas. Dallas will move to your right, and then we'll end up with Bobby. So one of the questions involves your position on the trail and ATVs. If you're for it, against it, and then also just in general what your position on the trails are. If you think we need more, do we need less? If you can kind of expand upon that.
As far as the ATV trails go, I'm for that. If anybody's looked into the ATV trails, it's seasonal roads that are marked, and that's basically where they'd be legal to ride, is on the seasonal roads. They wouldn't be able to ride on county roads or state roads, so I don't see an issue with that. Now, as far as the other trails in town, I feel like Shindig and Hollow, there's biking trails hiking trails. I don't know how many miles of trails are up there, but the state maintains them pretty well. As far as the trail in Caroline, I'd have to look into more of that. I feel like that's going to be some serious maintenance for the highway department. I could see...
Thank you. Sorry. So sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Thank you. So I guess I'll address the ATV trail proposition has been put forward. We had a public meeting in this very room last year about that, and we learned, so ATVs are not allowed on town roads by state law, but they can, sections of town roads can be used to provide access to established ATV trails that aren't otherwise able to be connected. So I support that. If that condition is identified, then we could consider that. The South Hill Recreation Way extension is the other trail under consideration. We've recently been provided a license agreement for the small section in Caroline that would be involved in this extension out to Middaugh Road. So we have information on the town website. It's very public. I hope everybody will go there and evaluate it, and we'll be considering this going forward. Thank you.
Okay. The South Hill Rec Trail, I'm going to need about 2 minutes to say what I got to say, and you're not going to give it to me. So ask me a bunch of questions, we'll add them up, and I'll tell you. But on the ATV stuff, Kendra's already passed it a couple years ago, a 2 or 3 page local law, maybe back in the 90s. Cindy sent it to me a long time ago. No reason we can't do the same thing. I don't know what's holding us up. Might be our lawyer, because he can't imagine a 2 or 3 page local law. It has to be this thick, and that takes a lot of time for everybody to read through. Let's just model ourselves on Kendra's law and get it done so the guys can go ride their equipment. The South Hill Rec Trail, give me another full minute, and I'll tell you what I got to say, but I'm not going to start and get chopped off. Sorry.
I am a supporter of the South Hill Rec Trail. I think that what's very important for this town to do is to find ways to work with the people on whose property it borders, to find ways that they are not impacted. In fact, I feel very encouraged in having already been invited to talk with a property owner about an alternative that I look forward to. We decided that after all of the budget stuff is done, so somewhere later in November or early December, we will talk with the community about the license agreement, some of the alternatives that have been proposed, and I hope that we can, and I'm confident that we can find a way forward that that mitigates impacts on property owners and allows the trail to go through for the very many people in this town who want to see one. As far as ATVs, what Mark said. There are areas that we've identified. We're very, willing to consider ATVs on portions where it's safe on remote roads.
ATV trails, yes. What that is you're talking about is using town roads between trailheads. And I agree with Pete that it shouldn't be that complicated. South Hill Trail, I would stand with where NICEAG was when the first letter that they drafted, that each and every property owner who borders that trail should be in agreement to go ahead with it. Without a 100% agreement, I wouldn't do it. I think you've got a fine example here at the community store here down here. What happens when you invite strangers in or other people, and you have a contention between people who live there. It doesn't always work so well, and you can look at that and study that to see what may happen with that trail and these people that live on it. And so I think that they have to be in agreement with that trail before we move forward with it.
And I agree with Tony. I know many people who are for the trail don't actually live in the town of Caroline. And a lot of people who oppose the trail have property where the trail would end up going either by their door or another area on their property, so they are against it. And also thinking about maintenance, also thinking about police surveillance. I also as Tony said, when you have people come from other communities, other areas, they don't respect the town like the people who actually live here. They bring garbage, they bring other paraphernalia, and who knows what. It's totally different when you're not a local. Also, there's many other places that you can go to, like Shindagan Hollow, other conservation areas, and Roy H. Park that are already used, and also beautiful places that we have here already in the community.
We're really lucky to have these local areas such as Shenandoah Hollow and Roy H. Park. But if you go throughout the county and you go to Lansing, you go to Dryden, you look at the trails that have been built. They're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they connect communities, they encourage recreational activity. So I would be very, very much in favor of pursuing these opportunities and want to work very, very much with the concerned neighbors about how to mitigate their concerns. The ATV thing, I think that we're really very, very close to bringing that to fruition. We've been waiting, the board has been waiting for a more clarified map from the citizens who want to do this, and I think that once we get these spots clarified, we can just go ahead with it quite easily.
As far as the ATV trails, I support that. And as far as the South Hill Rec, my big concern is the possible burden on the highway department as far as maintenance, upkeep, expansion. And until a few of those questions are answered for me, I'm on the fence.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to a question that's specifically for the highway superintendent candidate. So Bobby, I'll start with you, and then Dallas will have you go second. What are your, and we've already spoken to this a little bit, but there's been quite a few questions about the barn. So what are your innovation ideas for a new highway barn? And will you serve on the decision committee if you're not elected?
My vision of the highway barn is to bring it into the future a little bit. Don't build it to suit us for right now. If we're going to spend the money, just do it right. Build it so that we can actually fit in it in 10 years, 15 years, and not outgrow it. And yes, as far as the committee, I will serve on that if I'm not elected.
As far as the new highway barn, I feel like some of the big concerns in the town are location. I feel like right now we're looking at the current one, deciding if we should rebuild there or we should look around in the town and decide if we should move elsewhere. There's a lot of things to look into when you're doing the town barn, runoff, from the salt, and safety features inside the barn. Big enough space for growth, places to wash your trucks during the winter, and just keep it efficient, keep climate change in mind while we're building it. So.
All right, thank you. These next questions are going to be for the town board candidates. Tony, we'll start with you, then we'll move to Irene, then Tim, then Karen. Does that work? Okay. So currently the town financially supports youth programs. What is your opinion or ideas for supporting senior residents?
Senior what?
Residents, sorry, that was my accent.
I don't know if there's any plans to build a senior residence here. What we have.
Sorry, I just want to clarify it again. I think this is because of my accent, but just for supporting senior residents like people. I'm so sorry. That was my fault.
All right, very good. That's easier. We need, the bus issue, having transportation for them, and I'm not close to town here, but Gadabout, and those services need to be here to pick them up, and the ambulance is paramount as far as senior citizens. those are young and are old, and the ones that are going to use that the most, and it's really important to have that. But as far as helping them be transparent, even people that you'd like to ride a bus instead of a car, I think it's important to have that bus service in this town. And the ambulance, I think, is probably most important to me for the elderly, along with you, because I've seen that both of them on my end. Thank you.
So first of all, the town already supports senior programming in the town. And Edie, I just can't help but remember Bob in regards to his work with the seniors committee, and it's finding its place again and figuring out ways forward. But Bob was a tremendous, had tremendous vision and organizational skills with that. In addition, we're pretty excited about the work that Will Lawrence is doing to help the community become more involved in senior programming and working with the county to identify new issues. I agree with Tony, transportation is one, aging in place, seniors who want to stay in their homes. There's a lot of things that are involved in that, both in terms of maintaining the homes, certainly taxes for people who are on fixed incomes is something that the town is always cognizant of. But there are a lot of issues, recreational issues for seniors. What can we do to have the town be engaging for seniors as we age here?
I think that this is an area that we need to really work on developing. I'm very, very much in favor of expanding budgetary contributions for youth programming and senior programming in the town. I think we haven't done enough. We want our seniors to stay in Caroline. We would prefer for them not to move into town if they can't be in their houses. We have to improve the transportation. I think also we need to be looking, this is something that Dryden has just done, at the quality of housing that we have and find ways of improving the housing that we have and help seniors stay in their houses. It's a really big challenge and it's going to get much bigger for us.
I do know a lot about youth services, and I know a lot of money goes towards the youth, which is important. But also the senior citizens make up a large population here at Caroline. There are some items that happen for them right now as far as like Tai Chi, monthly potluck. They do have food pantry deliveries, but a need of transportation is huge. Also other different just areas for them to get out, to be together, to socialize, build relationships with one another, so it can help improve their quality of life. The seniors, unfortunately, are a main group, like I said, in Caroline, that a lot of money right now is not dedicated towards, and a lot of volunteers are unable to help them out at this time.
All right, thank you. The next question will also be for the town board. We've had quite a few questions regarding EMS service. I think for this one, then we'll go ahead and start. We'll start with Karen, and then we'll move to Tony, and then have Tim go at the very end. What is your concern for the EMS service for our town, and what are your plans to remedy this situation?
The EMS service is a vital part, it should be a vital part of our town. I think a lot of people don't realize the importance unless they have an emergency and they don't have somebody able to come to their house and help them out. Being a part of the emergency medical services used to be an awesome thing in the community. We used to have the navigators, which was the teenage group, which would be a part of it. Just the volunteerism, the pride in being a part of the volunteer fire department was there at one time. And for whatever reason, we have volunteers now, but they've been there for many, many years. They're very seasoned, and it's time for them to pass the baton. We really need to just have a spark of unity again with that, and a spark of pride. And just, it's a hard job. It takes a lot of time. It's not easy. You get there and you have no idea what's going on, but it's so important in our community and we need to keep it up.
As everybody has said, it's important to all of us that somehow we get EMS back here. But as I understand it, the reason that they left is our people aged out, and it's so difficult now, even to be a volunteer fireman, that all of the education, all the classes you have to go through, the qualifications to do this, you have to be a professional, it seems. And I would think that we should be able to somehow my idea would be like a satellite out here with bangs, and I've mentioned that, and I've heard that that's been tried. But it seems to me that there's something that we could do instead of trying to train ourselves to get somebody that we can hire somehow and move a satellite out here to have an ambulance closer to us.
Okay, I'm going to speed talk this one. I want to be sure that everybody here understands that we do have ambulance service from Bangs out to Caroline. So we are not without ambulance service. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that. We also have from the Brooktondale Fire Hall, we have 5 trained EMS providers, several of them at paramedic level, who do provide service to this community. There are, right now, there is not first response service provided directly in the community of Sladeville Springs. Brooktondale Fire Department has told me that they do cover on the higher level emergency calls out to Sladeville. I have talked with Bangs, I have looked into it, I have the statistics on my hand. Last year we had a total of 137 calls out in Caroline. We had 48 calls during the daytime hours between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening. Tim, would you cede your time to me? Can we do
Sure.
that?
Well,
Look, this is an important issue to this community, and I have been working on it. I've worked with the Department of Emergency Response and communities around Caroline to develop programs to address this issue, because we are not the only community who is dealing with this. Lansing has to wait for Bangs to get out to Lansing as well. So through the work that I did through organizing a task force, countywide task force, the county has now restructured their Department of Emergency Response and is now employing somebody who will provide oversight for recruitment and retention of volunteers. They've started a new program out at TC3 to recruit people in to the basic level of training and then hopefully work them up. They're also going to be working to develop programs with BOCES and to do recruitment in the high school. This is a long-term challenge, and we're working on it. The county is putting money to it, and it started because of the initiative that we took on our board here. I wish there were a quick and easy answer. I really do. I've looked into the legal challenges, and it's difficult to get something started here.
All right, thank you. Tim, you can, if you'd like to go ahead and answer, we can. And then also for the rest of the, I can give you extra as well.
I think it's important just to hear what Irene has said. This is incredibly complicated, and she has led the county in trying to address this issue. I'm hopeful that we can continue to make progress, but we have to be realistic that it's unfortunately not an easy fix. And just thank you very, very much to our fire departments who continue to serve us. And it's really difficult for you guys to do it because there isn't a swell of volunteerism right now. And part of the thing also is our community has changed. It's more of a bedroom community. More of the previous people who volunteers work in town are far away. And that's why one of the things that I'm really interested in doing is growing local businesses as much as we can to try to revitalize local volunteer network. But we all know it's not easy. It's going to be a challenge.
Right, thank you. That question was only for the town board?
No, I understand.
Yep.
I see my time to him.
All right, you've got a minute.
Okay, no, I just wanted to go back on the trail. So I don't know.
On the trail?
And the time has been rescinded. Back to, she takes her time. You can address that in the closing statements when we get to that.
Closing statement, but it's
Yeah.
important.
And we'll also have time at the end of the debate. We'll also have time for you, if you have any other questions, to talk to the candidates as well. Do you have?
Moving on to the next question to let us speak, right?
What's it? Yeah, my apologies. Yes, we'll give you guys an extra minute since Irene did go ahead. I want to make it fair, so yes, if you want to go ahead and have more time to answer that question.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Karen, are you okay? All right. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so this next question, we've had quite a few questions come in. This was going to be for everyone. I want to start off with Mark. Mark, then we'll move on to Peter, and then we'll move on down this way. And it's about your philosophy of town governments and the role of a local government. How would you make sure that your ideals for local government are implemented?
I guess my philosophy of town government is that that we do have a role to play in providing services that residents need, and looking for opportunities that can move the town to a better place. So, I think that's been encapsulated in what I've been working on the past 4 years and what I want to continue to do. So, I think town government has a role to play, and it should be done in an efficient manner. Property taxes are a concern of everybody. I often get people asking about that when I'm out knocking on doors, and so I'm very cognizant of the need to control spending, but also provide the services that the town needs.
Yeah, I take this question to really kind of go at the philosophical differences that Mark and I have discussed over the years about whether town government should work on the town, concentrate on that, or should act as a sort of a collective advocate up to higher levels of government policy making. So I have a brief statement here. Citizens can and should inform their elected officials at all levels of their views. We have direct election of all of our lawmakers, and some, although not enough in my view, other high government officials. Why should one group of elected officials speak on behalf of constituents to another group of elected officials? Let the constituents speak to the elected officials themselves. Thank you.
So I think I have a pretty different view than Pete on this.
No kidding, really, Irene?
I know. But there's something symbolic, except you're down at you're down at my right, but you're down at the audience's left. I don't know. But
You want to trade places, Irene?
So I think that the local government has an integral role in protecting what we call community commons, the common good, the welfare of our community, the protection of our air, our water, the resources that we hold in common. We also have a very unusual role, I think, and I learned this when I go knocking door to door, because I hear people who talk to me about their memories of this town, and they proposed on that bridge. And then there's people who have kids who want them to be able to ride their bikes in a safe place. So we have an extraordinary role in protecting both the past and the future of this town. And I take that role very, very humbly and very seriously, and I hope I do a good job of it. I know.
I was once told years ago that as a town board member, you have to represent everybody. And I'm like, how do you do that? Are you a liar? This guy wants this and this guy wants the opposite, and I agree with both of you. I think the best way to do that is to keep the local government simple, where you work on your budget and the business of the town, code enforcement officer and the town highway department, and all those things, those simple things are your basic government. And then the things, the outreach, if you will, the things that the people ask you to do, and the things that makes the community roll and everybody be happy. This is important for people to be happy. For me, the comprehensive plan and the new, what they've added to it is that everybody wants this place to be rural. And what is rural to everybody? The definition is farms. So those, whatever we do, we've got to adhere to that, which keeps our community. Stop.
I believe local government needs to represent the people, and in order to do that, you need to have a relationship with others. You need to be visible. You need to have an opportunity to talk to people, no matter what their sides are, whatever their perspective is. They'll tell you why they feel the way that they do, and that you would look out for the community as a whole to make sure that you have the best interest of the people at heart, and then also in hopes too that the people would come to the meetings, that they would want to be invested in what's going on, so they can actually be there to say to the different board members what their thoughts are, what their opinions are, why they feel strongly about a certain way, and they would have the opportunity to do that.
The great thing about being in this town is you don't have to worry about somebody giving you their opinion. And one of the things that we need to do, and I think do well on the town board, is we listen, we solicit opinions, and we try to then act accordingly in the common good. But it's not simple. So let's remember that we're also part of a county, and we're part of a state, and we need leadership at the local level that will understand what's happening at the county and the state level, will take advantage of the opportunities provided to us by the county and the state, and as many of my colleagues have done, take leadership at the county to help bring our knowledge into the county and serve the county. So I think local government is a service. It's a service both to the local, but we have the real opportunity in our incredibly unusual town to serve the county and to lead, and I think that that's what we're able to do. It's very exciting.
My philosophy of the local government is it does play a big role, but it needs to be done in a professional manner. As far as the board and the highway department, I think that's a relationship that has to be strong, has to be well-oiled on both sides. And a line of communication, I know it's been said quite a few times tonight. For me, if you got a question, stop in, give me a call. I'm big on giving a call back. Everybody deserves a phone call back.
As far as local government, I feel that you should work with your town members for feedback, as long as for your roads. And then as far as the town board, you should work for a responsible budget, the budget money, and keep the roads safe for your children going to school, getting everybody to work on time. Safety is a big thing, and basically just keeping your budget good.
All right, thank you. Just to be cognizant of the time, we have time for one or two more questions, and then we'll go ahead and move on into closing statements. This one is specific to the town supervisor candidates, and Peter, will have you go first, and then Martin. Will you use Robert's Rules of Order to run the board and committee and special meetings?
I don't know, because I don't know what all the Robert's rules are. I know what I do want to do, and I will need the permission of the board to do this. We have an organizational meeting, the first meeting every year in January, and that's kind of where the rules of the road are set for that year. And I have a couple of specific goals that I have. One is to make the town board meetings semi-monthly, basically equally spaced, and not have a distinction between agenda meetings and business meetings. Same format at all of them. And the agenda at any meeting will have its agenda announced at the previous meeting. And then as far as the Robert's Rules, I think you're going to the question of people interrupting. I would keep privilege of the floor the way it is in the beginning, and then at the end of each meeting, an opportunity for citizens to more informally engage with the board. No Robert's Rules of Order there. And then a time to shut down. I mean, you can't go on all night at this, but that would be a way for people to ask the board questions, give them a hard time, and maybe get a response back. Thank you.
Great. So what you described is just exactly what we do.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
You don't have to say at the end.
Please, I'm speaking. So we do employ Robert's Rules, and I will employ Robert's Rules. That said, we use them with greater or lesser skill at times. But the challenge of meetings is the town board meeting is a working meeting of the board. But at the beginning, we provide privilege of the floor because we want to hear concerns from the community. And it's a delicate balance. And when we're communicating amongst ourselves or with the public, there's always a judgment call about allowing comments out of order. And sometimes you want to do that. You want to hear feedback. So yes, we would employ Robert's rules, but we also allow for flexibility to hear from people. So thank you.
May I rebut?
I think we're going to go ahead and move into closing statements because I want to make sure that we have enough time for those. And we should have enough time at the very end to, again, the crowd, thank you guys so much for coming out. This is a very good turnout. I would encourage each of you to go and ask the candidates any other questions that I wasn't able to get to. I really appreciate everybody coming out on a Tuesday, and I encourage each of you to grab some literature on the way out about early voting, and let's make sure that we do get out and vote when those days and times come. So I believe that I started with Peter for the opening statements. So if I'm not mistaken, I think I will go ahead and start with Irene, and we'll work our way down. So you'll have 2 minutes for your 2 minutes for your closing statement. And then we'll have her do that. Okay, thank you.
So this is corny, I know this is corny, but I wore purple everything today for a reason. And a shirt, for those that can't see it, that shows a little heart and says "Better Together." We're in a tough place in our town. We are a purple town, and one of the struggles and one of the challenges that I think we face is that for the past several election cycles, it's been Democrats who have been elected. And I get it that there are people who feel like their voice isn't being heard as a result of that. And yet, and I don't know what this election is going to bring, and maybe that will change shape. But I think it's a real challenge for us to figure out how do we all work together, hear each other, respect each other, and move forward. This is honestly, this pains me, the kind of discord and allegations and accusations that I've seen against this board. We are not perfect. Are there times where our process isn't as smooth as we'd like? Sure. But here's what I can tell you, and there have been allegations of lack of transparency, and I've seen some of the emails about what that's about, and that they've seen us not agree on things that have been brought forward and illy timed or whatever. And I'll tell you what, that is transparency. It's ugly. We sometimes don't agree with each other. We push back and say, no, this shouldn't have happened this way and it needs to go some other way. That is transparency. We hold each other accountable. You see us warts and blemishes and all as we do the business of this town. You should be worried if and when this town board ever comes out and just automatically says, here's what we're doing, we don't need to discuss it, we all vote and agree. That's when you guys have a transparency problem. There is not a transparency problem right now. And I just want to make that clear. We all care a lot. We're not perfect, but all of us here, and from Pete all the way down, we all care about this town. You all care about this town. Come to our meetings, talk with us. We are better together.
All right, thank you.
I didn't even see it.
I agree with Irene in that her statement is that there's a concern that the board's all Democrats, and whether you argue or not, the direction is singular. It's in one direction, and that there isn't somebody from the other side. And I remember our previous supervisor always thought that there should be at least a couple on the board. And I agree that there should be another side. There should be somebody who always thought that from that corner to this corner and that corner, and they all come together with different views and tolerant of each other, to be able to speak to each other and tolerant and understand that we're different, and difference is beautiful. Makes people interesting to be different. If we're all the same, we're damn boring. But I would propose that our town needs to be simple in that we don't complicate the business of the town. That gets done, and then these other things that we do that we're concerned about, whether it's climate change or It'd really be nice to have a power plant, but I don't really care for one of those big fields of solar panels, even though the idea of getting it from the sun. And I did have somebody look at the farm to do that, and it wasn't pretty. So.
Thank you again for coming here tonight. I hope this forum has helped you to get to know each of us as individuals and not just a party. This is not a competition to me, and I want you to know I am thankful to live in the town of Caroline and will continue doing as much as I can to help, regardless of the election results. Traveling in the military was exciting, and certain places had more to offer than others, but what really made temporary locations feel like home were the relationships that we made and the quality time that we spent with other people. When my family envisions our future, it is here in Caroline and nowhere else. I am honored to be in front of you today, and this has been a learning experience, and I can say with certainty it is a risk I will never regret. While campaigning, I have enjoyed building new relationships and hearing about topics like the trail, broadband, parking, EMS, safety, senior and youth services, and also global concerns. The town's past has happened, and we are in the current. But what would you like your future and that of the future generations to look like? Decisions made by the board over the next 4 years will directly or indirectly affect you. What are your talents and what can you do to strengthen the town and improve the quality of life for others? I encourage you to invest your time, talents, and resources to better our town and to let your actions speak loud and vote on November 5th. And if you would like to speak to me further after the forum, or I can just listen to what you have to say, I'm happy to do that. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This, to me, really exemplifies what the town of Caroline is. Many of us have been here for a long time, others more recently, and we're working together to articulate a future. I want to insist that from my point of view, this election is really going to make a big difference. We have the opportunity to carry on some of the momentum that has been gathered by this board in terms of building on the $500,000 worth of outside grants we brought in to the town, into continuing to work on our infrastructure, continuing to build partnerships with the county, both working inside for simple solutions, but addressing our outside very, very complicated infrastructure. I'm really ready to dig into that. I'm really ready to bring my experience in terms of management and fundraising to build this out. But most of all, let's not slow down. Let's keep going and let's try to figure out what we want the future of our town to be in relationship to the transitions that are happening with our much larger bedroom community. This is the fact of the situation. We want to do it together. We want to figure it out together. But that's going to be looking inside and outside at the same time. And I think that this board is deeply dedicated to do that and has the track record to prove that we can bring results. So let's keep it going.
First, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for coming out. It's a first for me to be on this side of the table. I've been on the other side quite a few times. It is actually a lot easier on that side. But as I said in my opening statement, it's not a job for me. It's home. I've always been here. I have raised all my kids here, and now I get to watch my grandson be raised here. So I take things pretty serious when it comes to the job. As Karen said, I'm here to help and to do my part, and whether I'm elected or not, I plan on staying on the new committee for the new highway barn to do my share. And if anybody has any questions, I'm free anytime. Just give me a shout or swing by.
Again, I'd like to thank you for spending your night here tonight. I know you are all busy people and it truly means a lot. I hope I was able to answer your questions and prove to you all that I am the best fit for Highway Superintendent. In my time under Cindy, I have learned valuable information. I have gained experience with not only the obvious, like road systems and maintenance practices, but I've also learned technical aspects of the job, including various computer software used day to day. I have also been able to forge my own relationships with town residents and look forward to expanding relationships with more of you. Taking this job is a big risk for me. I will have to fill my current position at the town and run for re-election in 4 years. I know my position involves nights, weekends, and holiday work, even more than I am used to now, but these are all things I'm willing to accept to be your highway superintendent. As highway superintendent, my promise to all you is to do my job the best of my ability day in and day out. I promise to work for you and with you, listening to feedback and doing my best to keep each resident safe and informed. I hope to have proved to you tonight that my integrity and with all my trustworthiness to use taxpayers' money in the best way possible and to benefit for the greater good. I am looking forward to meeting more of you after the forum and answering additional questions you may have. I sincerely hope you will vote for me on November 5th. Finally, I can finally stop telling you and start showing you why I'd make the best highway superintendent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. It's really great to see all the familiar faces out there. And I'm going to start. I have some prepared comments. I'll do as many as I can, but I want to start by amplifying what Irene said. I thought that was really spot on. And when I became highway superintendent, I don't want it. When I became town supervisor, Don Barber had this little piece of paper clipped up in the office that says, be your best self, listen, speak to others so they want to listen to you, and listen to others so they want to speak to you. And so that's to say, what Irene was speaking to is when I'm stewarding town board meetings, that's always a challenge. And so sometimes we do better than other times. Sometimes we see, but at the end of the day, we always evaluate and do better the next time. So I think that's a really critical part of the supervisor role. You have to be introspective, patient, and on your toes to facilitate the board meeting, and I am committed to doing that. I enjoy working together with others in this job to address the needs of our community. And as supervisor, I just wanted to mention a few of the local boards that I serve on. I'm vice chair of the Tompkins County Council of Governments. I serve on the Transit Services Committee that works to enhance TCAT service to the community, and I'm on the Economic Development Collaborative of Tompkins County Area Development, where I'm the rural representative to inform the board about economic issues relevant to rural communities. So I just want to reiterate that, so she's saying stop, so please come talk to me anytime if you have questions. Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting you, and I apologize to y'all too. I'm working on my impatience, and I'm getting a lot better at it. I don't always pull it off. What troubled me was that I suggested something additional that I would do in town board meetings, which was to have this period at the end of the meetings where people can speak to the board, get answers to questions, not at the sufferance of the board, but as a right. And during the privilege of the floor, it's really at the sufferance of the chairman of the meetings. Many, many times I have been denied answers, and I've been asked when I've asked for them. Other times I've been given answers. On the trail stuff, I don't have time to read my whole statement, but I owe it to you guys to tell you where I stand, okay? So I'm going to read part of it here, and I will post the rest of it on my website. Remember, go to the website. As long as there are adjoining landowners prepared to oppose the use of that land, meaning the railroad grade, as a trail, the town would be putting itself in the position of using taxpayer dollars to fight those very taxpayers. That troubles me to the extent that I cannot support that position for something that is really a recreational pursuit. And now I've got 45 seconds left to close, yada, 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 but I do want to just tell you one little thing that really kind of tickled me. I was visiting one of my constituents a couple days ago, a young woman with a couple of kids and husband, and she said, "Pete, the reason I'm voting for you is because I can go to your house and tell you I'm pissed off." I said, "Yes, you can. And anybody who comes and tells me they're pissed off and tells me why, I know will leave me a wiser man for having heard it." Thank you.
All right, thank you each for coming. Just want to say a quick thank you to Janice Burton for helping us put on this wonderful debate. Huge thank you to Kay again. She had the hardest job in the room of being our timekeeper. Huge thank you to Nancy, and thank you each for coming. Just again, you've done a beautiful, wonderful civic service by coming out. Please go vote. We'll see you in November.